I think this is one of the things that makes people dislike the media so much in this country, Susan, is that you selectively edit, just like Senator Harris did, comments that President Trump and I and others on our side of the aisle make. I mean, Senator Harris conveniently omitted, after the president made comments about people on either side of the debate over monuments, he condemned the KKK, neo-Nazis, and white supremacists, and has done so repeatedly.
You get the vice president suggesting media bias at last night's debate, accusing the press and the moderator of selectively editing President Trump's comments. Let's bring in a panel to react. Indianapolis-based radio talk show host Tony Katz, he's right there next to me. You've got media reporter for The Hill, Joe Concha, right there, and senior policy analyst at the Independent Women's Forum, Kelsey Bolar. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, Tony, let's start with you. Was the moderator last night selectively editing things to go against Mike Pence?
Well, some people will tell you that the moderator was selectively editing Mike Pence by telling him, thank you, Mr. Vice President, thank you, Mr. Vice President, and stopping him from finishing a sentence. But really, it comes from Kamala Harris utilizing the Charlottesville lie once again. President Trump did not say there are very fine people on both sides. It was part of a larger conversation where he condemned white supremacists and these neo-Nazis. Totally. It is a nonsense line that Donald Trump is an anti-Semite. It is untrue. I'm Jewish. I speak for all the Jews. It's nonsense. Stop it. Your bubby would be ashamed of you for pushing this kind of garbage. And it was that kind of talk where she didn't have to. Kamala Harris had opportunities for great points, and she decided to throw in lies. She decided to throw in Russia. She kind of ruined her own messaging with people who may have been paying attention just that little bit to her.
So, Kelsey, do you agree that Kamala Harris was selectively editing things that Donald Trump and Mike Pence have said to make a point? And, you know, the American public listening, they probably don't know.
Absolutely. And look, Susan Page did an excellent job last night, but these debates would be far more effective if debate moderators came prepared with paper trails of facts about the statements that the candidates have said regarding to certain issues that they are choosing to ask about. There are paper trails of President Trump condemning white supremacy, condemning racism. Of course, there are not those paper trails for the would-be Biden administration condemning anarchy that has been playing out on the streets all summer. But there is no reason these debate monitors can't have a paper trail when they're challenging these individuals on these issues. The American people can look them up. It's very clear. Kamala Harris was misleading on issues like fracking. She refused to answer whether or not they would pack the Supreme Court, and paper trails would make these debates far more honest and effective.
All right, Joe Concha.
SurveyMonkey and Axios, Steve, and this is one of a poll that I cite often because it's so telling, found that 92% of Republicans, quote, say that traditional news outlets knowingly report false or misleading stories at least sometimes. You say, okay, of course the right's going to complain about the media. Well, 79% of independents and even a majority of Democrats agree with that sentiment. I also heard last night, by the way, Steve, that Mike Pence interrupted so much. We have the final tally in terms of speaking time. Mike Pence, 35 minutes, 22 seconds. Kamala Harris, 38 minutes, 48 seconds, so she nearly got 4 more minutes of speaking time. To Kelsey's point, no questions about packing the courts until Mike Pence actually had to raise it. No questions on Antifa. No questions on abolishing the filibuster. No question on Kamala Harris raising money for a bail fund that helped free domestic abusers, including one man accused of sexually assaulting an 8-year-old. So the bias of omission was on full display last night in terms of the questions, in terms of the framing, and it even got to the point, Steve, that Chinese state media censored Mike Pence, took him off the screen during one segment of the debate, and then when Kamala Harris started speaking again, he came back on. So it doesn't happen here. It happens in China as well.
There you go. All right. This is a lightning round. Everybody gets about 15 or 20 seconds. Tony Katz, does last night's debate move the needle one way or another?
No, it doesn't, but it gives the Pence and Trump people a lot of ammunition to show here's where Kamala Harris continues to lie and continues to obfuscate. That's certainly helpful when you're making campaign ads.
All right, Kelsey.
Not necessarily, but I hope it will calm the American people down, show the American people the distinct contrast between the policies of the Trump administration and what would happen under the Biden administration. Mike Pence was extremely effective in contrasting those policies, and that's what we need to hear more about as we move closer to the election.
And finally, Joseph.
If Joe Biden only serves one term, this becomes a very important vice presidential debate. Let me end it with this. Frank Lunt's focus group found that Kamala Harris was, quote, evasive, nervous, shifting blame, caring, snarky, too rehearsed, nervous, evasive, unsteady, rigid, and unpresidential. So Kamala Harris, by almost all counts, did not win this debate, or at least it was a push. Mike Pence got the Trump team back on track. It's now up to the president to carry it forward next week, Steve.
All right, great analysis by all. Kelsey and Tony and Joe, thank you very much. All right.
See ya.
Indeed.